Hello everyone and welcome to a massive episode of the Ultimate AFL show. The season is finally about to get underway. It gets underway this Thursday. It is just so exciting. I can feel the excitement through my body. I just love opening season week. It is just so exciting. Now in today's episode I'm going to be giving you my final predictions for season 2016. Includes a full prediction ladder as well as predictions on the Brownlow medal, Coleman medal, etc, etc. And I reckon my ladder prediction will cause a little bit of heat for some people and might just make people hate me, but that's what happens when you do these ladder predictions. Also coming up on the show, of course, I am looking towards round 1 of season 2016. I'm going to a couple of games in round 1, so I'm very excited for that, and I'm just excited for the season to get underway. So let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into looking at my ladder predictions for season 2016. So like I said, my ladder is going to be pretty hard hitting, especially on some teams who made the top 8 last year, and I reckon it will cause some people to disagree with me, and that's fine because this is just purely my opinion. And instead of people commenting down below saying, oh, you're wrong, that won't happen, I'd actually like everyone to comment down below their ladder predictions for season 2016. It will just be so much better. So I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up to the top. So I'll start with the Wooden Spooners. I had to give it to Essendon, just like everyone else. I was going to give it to Carlton, especially after they got beat by Essendon in the NAB Challenge round 1 game at Princess Park, but I decided to, I think it was round 2 actually that game was in, but anyway, that doesn't matter. Yeah, I had to give it to Essendon. I think Carlton's list is just slightly better, but there is probably a little bit more experience in Essendon's side through Stokes, Crowley, players like that, but Carlton do have a lot of youth and also some experienced players like Mark Murphy, Bryce Gibbs, Cade Simpson, players like that. And I think Carlton's list will be just a bit better than Essendon. So Essendon gets my 18th place on the ladder. Carlton on 17th, as I mentioned. Brisbane Lions I've put at 16th. I just can't see them improving any more than that position. I just think their list is a bit too young, not as experienced, and I think Dane Beams is also injured, and he didn't really have a good year in my opinion last year. I think this year he needs to have a better year for them. So yeah, I just think they're still a long way off the top 8. St Kilda 15th, they've got some good young players, but I just don't think they're ready to play at the elite top 8 level, so I don't think they're going to improve any further than the bottom 4. Gold Coast is at number 14. I've gone Melbourne 13th. They had a really good NAB Challenge season for this year. They went all 3 games undefeated, which was great to see. They played some great style gameplay, and yeah, I'm a bit disappointed I've had to put them in 13th, but I reckon they could be not challenging for the top 8, but they could be one of those teams who are actually challenging for a bit further than 13th. But this is the one that's going to really make people angry, I reckon, especially these Richmond supporters. I've put Richmond at 12th, and I'll tell you the reason why. I reckon their injuries are really going to let them down this year, especially with players who got injured against Port Adelaide. I also think Chris Yarran, I really would have put them probably a little bit higher, even though he's not the best player in the AFL, but he is a really important player, I think, and that's why they got him, but he hasn't had, obviously, the pre-season that they would have hoped for. I just see them being a 12th side just because of their injuries. I don't reckon they'll be there next year. I reckon they'll be back up in the top 8, but I think considering their injuries and considering some of the retirements as well, Chris Newman being the only retirement, Chris Newman and Ricky Pettard being the only retirements, as well as a couple of others, I think they're just going to have a little bit of a down season this year, a bit like Port Adelaide, but I reckon they'll get back up possibly next year. That's just what I think anyway. I've gone Adelaide Crows 11th out of the top 8 this year. Under a new coach, they've lost Paddy Dangerfield. Still have Taylor Walker at the club and a couple of others, including Eddie Betts. I think they'll be 11th side. GWS, I think they're going to have a really improving year. I don't think they'll make the top 8. They will challenge for the top 8, no doubt about it, but I reckon they'll finish 10th. It'll be hard for them to get in the top 8, especially with some of those better teams, but they do have a really good list this year. What lets them down, though, is Jeremy Cameron's suspension of 5 weeks. That's really going to put them back because he's probably the most important player at GWS for this year. Port Adelaide I've put in 9th. I think they're going to have a bit of an up year than what they had last year. Of course, Charlie Dixon is a really good player that they've recruited, so I'm happy that they've recruited him because that's probably what they need, especially with Paddy Ryder missing this year due to suspension. I've got Sydney Swans at 8th. I was nearly going to push them out of the top 8, but then seeing Buddy Franklin and the form he's in, I reckon they're going to have a good year this year, but they're going to slide down to 8th and still maintain finals appearance for this year. You got to get Kurt Tippett in form, I reckon. They brought him for a reason. He needs to really step up this year. Geelong at 7th, like their list. Paddy Dangerfield, obviously not going to make. It's going to make a big difference for their side, but one player doesn't make a huge amount of impact. Collingwood in 6th. I liked their pre-season and I like the path they're on. I like some of their players. I think Darcy Moore is going to have a big year. You'll see later why I say that. They've just got a really good side. Jeremy Howe's a really good pickup, even though he's injured at this present moment. He is a really good pickup for them. We saw how he impacted Melbourne for the time he was there. James Aish, Adam Treloar, really good pickups for them in season 2016. They've got a really good list, and I reckon they're going to return to the finals this year and be that high up because I think they're on the right path. It's simple as that. Hawthorn in 5th place. I don't reckon they'll go the 4-peat this year just because, they've lost Brian Lake, David Hale. Brian Lake was probably the main defensive player of their side, so they're going to have to find a replacement, and it's not going to be easy. Okay, we're into the top 4 now, starting with number 4 for Western Bulldogs, my side, the side who I support in the AFL. And, well, I'm probably putting them there just because I support them, but I actually really like their list. And they weren't actually that far off 4th place last year. You might have remembered they probably lost a couple of silly ones, Brisbane Lions being that last one there that probably cost them, but there was a couple of others that did cost them that probably top 4 spot. They haven't lost a real lot. They've gained Matthew Suckling, which I reckon is going to be a real importance for them. They've also gained Jed Adcock as a rookie draftee. He will be probably not as influential as probably Matthew Suckling will be, but he will be a good player. He's a good player for them to pick up, that's for sure. And I think they do have the ability this year. They were really improving last year. I reckon they have the ability to be 4th place. That's just my opinion. North Melbourne, I've gone 3rd. That's probably, you're probably thinking, wow, that's really, really gullible considering that they finished outside the top 4 last year. I actually think they've got one of the best forward lines in the competition. Drew Petrie, Ben Brown, who I can't say how much I can't say enough of how much I love him because he's such a good player, such a good forward for North Melbourne, Ben Brown, and he'll have a big year this year, I reckon. So, look, I reckon they're going to finish 3rd. I reckon they're going to get to the preliminary final again this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they get to the grand final. They do have that side. They've recruited well. I think they're going to finish 3rd. That's just my opinion. Fremantle 2nd, I think they've got a really good list, Nat Fyfe being there. Harley Bennell, I think, is a good pickup for them, I think. Besides his troubles, he's actually a really good young player. So he's missing round 1, as we know, but good player for them to pick up. And then for 1st, I've gone the West Coast Eagles, runners-up in the grand final last year. Kept a bit of their side, recruited Lewis Jetta, who I think is a really good pickup for them. And when he's right, he's going to be a very good player for the Eagles. So the Eagles are minor premiers for me for 2016. Okay, time to look through my other predictions for season 2016. Let's quickly go through them. I'll start with the premiership for season 2016. I've gone the West Coast Eagles. Had a shocker in the grand final last year, no doubt about it. Hawthorn were just too good. I think they're going to be a bit better this year, and I think they'll get to the grand final and win it. Possibly against Fremantle. That's what I'm tipping. I'm tipping a West Coast Eagles and Fremantle grand final. It could have been that last year, but Fremantle, of course, lost to Hawthorn, and then Hawthorn ended up winning the grand final. So West Coast Fremantle grand final, West Coast the premiers, Fremantle the runners-up for me. Brownlow medalist, I'm going Matt Priddis. I think he's going to get a second Brownlow medal. He did very well a couple of years ago to get his first Brownlow medal, so it's going to be good. So I reckon it will be good to see him win another one. Nat Fyfe, of course, he's going to be very hard to beat. And I reckon Gary Ablett, if he gets back to his form this year, he'll be right up there as well as, of course, the regulars. Sam Mitchell, Trent Cotchin, players like that will be up there in probably the top 5 or 6 votes for season 2016. Coleman medalist, I've gone Jake Stringer. He had about a 50-plus goal year last year. Had a very good year. Got the package under his belt. I reckon he's going to have another good year and he's going to win this year's Coleman medal. Wouldn't be surprised if Buddy Franklin gets back up to the top. He was sensational in the NAB Challenge, especially against Carlton at Etihad Stadium a couple of weeks ago. So I would like to see him get up near Jake Stringer on the Coleman medal leaderboard. Rising star, I've gone Darcy Moore for Collingwood. They have a good list, Collingwood, and I reckon Darcy Moore is going to be the standout rising star for season 2016. Okay, so that is it for my predictions for season 2016. Of course, you may disagree, you may agree, who knows, but if you disagree, please do comment down below your opinion. I'm happy to have a look and read everyone's opinions and respect their opinions, because that's just what I do here on the Bevob5 Productions YouTube channel. Okay, so it's now that exciting time in the show where I have a look at round 1, the opening round of season 2016. I'm just so excited. I can't explain my excitement. I'm always this excited when round 1 comes around. So let's start with Thursday night, March 24th. It is Richmond and Carlton, the traditional opener of the season at the MCG. Great to have footy back at the home of footy, the Melbourne Cricket Ground. The game will get underway at 7 p.m. local time. Saturday there is 4 games, 1 afternoon game, 1 twilight game and 2 Saturday night games, and they are all absolute beauties. I'll start with the Saturday afternoon game at the MCG. This is for Saturday, March 26th. Melbourne v GWS. Could be a good game, this one. It's going to be starting at 1:40 p.m. local time. Then straight after that, it is Gold Coast v Essendon. Probably a very crucial game for Essendon, considering they got smashed in the last 2 games of the NAB Challenge. Be interesting to see how they compare with a struggling Gold Coast Sun side from last year, which I think they're going to improve a little bit from last year. That game at Metricon Stadium starting at 4:35 p.m. Australian Eastern Time, 3:35 p.m. local time if you live over there in the Gold Coast. Saturday night, 2 Saturday night games. These are probably very big games. We've got the Sydney Swans and Collingwood at the SCG. Of course, if you haven't already heard, it was originally at ANZ Stadium, but the Sydney Swans have now been able to get all their home games at the SCG, which is very, very good. So it's at the SCG starting at 7:25 p.m. local time. At the same time, it is North Melbourne and the Adelaide Crows taking on each other at Etihad Stadium. Now, North Melbourne will want to get revenge after last year's round 1 thrashing. That's right, the Adelaide Crows thrashed them at the Adelaide Oval on a Sunday afternoon last round 1 last year. It was pretty bad for North Melbourne, so I'll be looking to get revenge in this round 1 fixture. Sunday there is 3 games. It starts with the Western Bulldogs and Fremantle, a game I'm going to. I'll be flying over on Sunday morning to watch this game. It is at Etihad Stadium at 1:10 p.m. local time. At 3:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Time, 2:50 p.m. local time in Adelaide, it is Port Adelaide v St Kilda at Adelaide Oval. This one should be a really good game, I reckon. And then straight after, or basically a couple of hours after actually, because the game gets underway at 7:40 p.m. Australian Eastern Time, it is West Coast v Brisbane at Domain Stadium. Game getting underway at 4:40 p.m. local time. Then Easter Monday, it is the traditional blockbuster between Geelong and Hawthorn. I'm going to this game as well at the MCG. The game will get underway at 3:20 p.m. local time. Should be a good game, this one. Really looking forward to going to it. Okay, so really looking forward to round one. It is going to be an interesting round to open the 2016 season. Now, throughout the season, each round and throughout the final series, I'm going to be giving you my tips on the games and who I think will win each game. So let's get to that right now. I'll start with the traditional opener, Richmond and Carlton at the MCG. I've gone Richmond to win. Melbourne and GWS, I've gone GWS to defeat Melbourne in a close one, I reckon. I think it might be a good contest. I've gone Gold Coast to defeat Essendon, probably by about 20-30 points. Not heavily, but I think that's the margin I think Gold Coast will win. North Melbourne, I think they'll win against Adelaide at Etihad. Collingwood, I think they'll upset the Sydney Swans. I think the Swans are going in favourites for that game, so I think Collingwood will upset the Swans and get their first win of the season. The Dogs, I've gone the Dogs to defeat Fremantle. The Dogs only lost to Freo last year by 12 points at Etihad, so they are good at Etihad, and I reckon they'll win this one. And Port Adelaide, I think they'll defeat St Kilda, and West Coast, I think they will defeat the Brisbane Lions. And the final game of the round ends with Geelong and Hawks. I have gone Geelong to win. They haven't won against Hawthorn in the last 5 contests, so it should be interesting. I think they will win. Okay, so that is it for this edition of the Ultimate AFL Show, episode 6. It's been a fantastic show, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. Don't forget to subscribe, because each Wednesday a new episode of this will show up in your newsfeed if you subscribe. Until next time, enjoy round 1, enjoy the opening round. It is going to be a fantastic opening round. So yeah, until next Wednesday, I'm Jacob. Bye for now.